Section 2.4, Formulas and Percents. First objective is to solve a formula for a variable. So we're going to look at the example one right here. W equals FD. I want to solve for D. So D right here is being multiplied by F. The opposite of multiply by F would be to divide both sides by F. So that's going to leave us with W divided by F, which can't be simplified because they're two different letters, equals D. So we've solved that formula for D. Okay, let's look at the next formula. We want to solve this formula for x. So I've got ax plus by equals c. I know the x is in this term, which means I want to subtract this one away, move it to the other side. It's positive, so I'm going to use subtraction, minus by from both sides. Okay, so ax equals c minus by. Can't be simplified, just write c minus by. And then again, we're trying to get x. This is a times x, so we're going to divide both sides by a. Divide both sides by a. So that will leave us with x equals, and again, all different letters. I can't simplify this. I just write c minus by over a. And that equation has been solved for x. Let's look down at the next example. Okay, I've got a equals p times 1 plus rt, and I want to solve for t. But t is right now trapped inside the parentheses, so let's just start by distributing. A equals p times 1 is just p. Anything times 1 is itself. And p times rt will be p times rt. Now, again, I'm trying to solve for t. This p is being added on, so we're going to subtract it off of both sides. It's not part of the t term. So I have a minus p equals p r t. And I'm looking to solve for this t. P and r being multiplied by it, so the opposite would be to divide by p and r. Let's divide by p and r. When I write this, make sure that I write the entire a minus p with a long division sign. The entire thing is divided by p and r equals t. So t has been solved for. Okay, and the last one on this page, we want to solve this formula here for c. Alright, so my c is there. I've got that plus 80. I'm going to have to subtract 80 from both sides. That'll leave me with c over 2 equals 2f minus 80. Those aren't like terms, so I just write 2f minus 80. And then I need to multiply both sides of the equation by 2. The opposite of divide by 2 is to multiply by 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by 2. Make sure that I multiply the entire side of the equation. Remember, when we do to one side, we do to the other side. It must be done to the entire side, just like this division was done to that entire side right there. So that gives us c equals 2 times 2f minus 80. Now, I can leave it undistributed, or if you would like to see the distributed form of the answer, we could say c equals, distribute that in, 2 times 2 is 4f, minus 2 times 80 is 160. Okay, so in most cases the distributed version would be the simpler version, although the undistributed version is also fine for the purposes of solving for c, which was our goal here. Okay, in the next objective, we're going to use the percent formula. In the formula, a equals p times b. B is the base, or starting amount. P is the percent, written as a decimal. And a is the amount of the original quantity that I've taken the percent of. Okay. In example 2, what is 3% of 200? So when I'm reading this equation, it's actually written in math speak already, just in English words. What is my variable? Is an equals 3%. Writing that as a decimal would make that 0.03. Remember, removing the decimal place 2 spots to change a percent into a decimal, so 0.03 of is a word for multiplication, 200. Okay, so this problem right here was written directly in math language. Words that were translatable, is, of, what being my unknown. But I can see it does also model this percent formula. A equals P times B, so the percent is 0.03, the 200 is the base, and the amount is what we're trying to find in this case. Alright, so x equals 0.03 times 200, which is 6, so my answer is 6. Alright, the next one is also written straight in math language. 24%, that's 0.24, of is multiplication. What number, so multiply by x, is equals 40.8. Now to solve that, since these are multiplied, we're going to want to divide by the 0.24 on both sides. So x is equal to, let me grab a calculator, 40.8 divided by 0.24, 170. So 24% of 170 is 40.8. So in this case, the percent was 0.24, the base, the original value, was 140, and the amount was 40.8. Let's look at our next one. 3 is equals what percent, I don't know the percent, I'll call it P for percent, of 15, of means multiplied by 15. Since it's multiplied, to solve the opposite would be to use division. Since I'm working with percents right here, I'm going to get that into a decimal instead of leaving it as a fraction. So 3 divided by 15 is 0.2. And the last step here is to recall that I'm trying to find a percent, so instead of leaving it as 0.2, I'm going to say 0.2 is the same thing as 20%. So my answer would be 20% with the percent symbol, since I'm looking for a percent in this one. Okay, so in the other questions, I was given a percent and I changed it into a decimal to use it into my equation. Here, when I solve for the percent, it comes out as a decimal in my equation and I change it back to a percent for my final answer. Let's look at the next page. Alright, so these are the problems that are not written directly in math language, but I can use that same format, amount equals percent times base, to set up and solve these equations. So I'm going to suppose that the local sales tax rate is 6%, and I buy a car for $16,800. Okay, so as far as amount, percent, and base, I know the percent is 0.066%, would be 0.06, and I need to figure out if that 1680 is the amount or the base. Is it the original value, or is it the amount after I've applied the tax rate? That sounds like it's the original amount, so that's going to be our base. So I know that when I set this up, it'll be amount equals percent, 0.06, times base, 16,800, and I multiply them together to get the amount of the tax. Okay, so 0.06 times 16,800 is 1,008. Alright, now again I need to interpret that. What does that mean? That 1,008 is dollars that you have to pay in tax. It's dollars of tax, since we're talking about a tax rate. Okay, so do I answer my question here? Let's see, how much tax is due? That answers the question right here. So we'll say $1,800 of tax is due. And then what's the car's total price? Well, I already had to pay $16,800. Now I've also got to pay an extra $1,008 in tax. So let's add those up. So the total price of my car is $17,808. Okay, let's look at the next example. suppose that you put $10,000 in a rather risky investment recommended by your financial advisor. During the first year, your investment decreases by 30% of its original value. During the second year, it increases by 40%. Your advisor tells you that there must have been a 10% overall increase of your investment. Are they using percentages properly? Okay, if not, what's the actual percent gain or loss? All right, so let's figure out how this works. Okay, so let's start with year one. In year one, we've got the amount, the percent, and the base, and the percent going on in year one is going to be a decrease of 30%. 30% will be 0.30, or just 0.3, and an investment of 10,000. That's the original amount invested. So the amount here is 0.3, the percent, times the base. Okay. 0.3 times 10,000 is 3,000. And this 3,000 here was a loss of 3,000, right? It decreased by 30%, so this 3,000 right here is a loss, which means at the end of year one, we've lost 3,000, so we have 10,000 minus 3,000 equals $7,000 left. Okay, then here comes year two. Okay, year two. In year two, we're going to start out this year, and what's going to happen is we're going to have a, oops, I scrolled down too far. We're going to have a 40% gain, an increase of 40%. So I'm going to use 40%. And in year two, the amount that I have invested is just that $7,000 that was left. I've already had to lose some of it, so I only have $7,000 here. I'm going to try to figure out how much I earn. So the amount that I earn this time is 0.40 or 0.4 times 7,000. Okay, and 0.4 times 7,000 is 2,800. And now that was a gain, so it's a $2,800 gain because we were increasing our investment by that much. So at the end of this year, we have 7,000 plus 2,800. Okay, so we end up with $9,800 at the end of year two. All right, at the end of Y2 for year two. All right. So the advisor was definitely wrong. The advisor said that we had a 10% overall increase, which is not true. We've actually lost money from the original investment. We only have $9,800 left. So I need to figure out then what was the actual percent gain or loss. All right, so one more calculation down here. Make my page a little longer. All right, so when I start this one out, amount, percent, and base. Okay, what I want to know is what the actual percent gain is, so I don't know the percent. And I do know how much I started with. I started with $10,000. And I'm talking about here the percent gain or the percent loss, so I need to know how much I gained or lost. All right, so if I have $9,800 here, I lost 2,000, right? So I'm not actually writing the 9,000 value here. I'm writing the 2,000 because that's how much I lost. All right, so setting this up, I have 2,000 equals percent times base. To solve for the percent, we're going to divide both sides by that 10,000. And calculator says that 2,000 divided by 10,000 is 0.2. So we had a 20% loss. Much different than a 10% gain. 20% loss over those 2 years is what happened here. So it's good to know your percentages so you can calculate those correctly.